Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Mondays with Michele video. This week, we're going to talk about working with pictures, how to resize and crop them, and how to use tables to precisely position your pictures on the page. I'll also show you how shading can add graphic interest to your document. Let's get started.
Pictures are very much a design element of any document or book that you might want to create. They help balance the page to break up the heaviness of all of the text, as well as obviously they're there to support the text that you're writing. And when I'm talking about pictures, I don't just mean photographs. You might have images of baptism entries or marriage records. You might have a pedigree chart. So what I'm going to show you today applies to anything that is saved on your computer in picture format. So those JPEG files, PNG files, TIFF files, anything that is considered a picture. So let's look at what we can do with the images that we have. So first, let's review some basics. If you want to insert a picture into a Word document, like this picture I have of my father in his Cub Scout uniform, it's as simple as put your cursor, click where you want that picture to appear, go to Insert menu at the top, click on the Pictures drop-down, and most likely you're going to be looking at pictures from your computer. So you'd say this device, and then you're going to basically sort through until you find your picture. And in this case, there's the picture of my dad. And I would just click Insert. And that brings in the picture the way you see here. So quite often, the first thing we're going to want to do is resize the picture because it never comes in exactly the size that we need for the space. Now, to resize the picture, you click on it and you see all these little dots that appear on the picture. You want to resize by clicking on one of the corner dots. So hold the left mouse button down and push at an angle towards the center of the picture to resize it. If you're not familiar with resizing a picture, you might try to resize it by making it shorter. You don't want to do that. You basically are squashing your ancestor. And if I was to push from the side like this, my dad looks like he's been on a starvation diet. I'm making him very, very skinny. So the point of resizing by pushing from the corners is you're maintaining the ratio of height to width. So you are just going to get a smaller version of that photo in the right proportions. The other way you can resize the picture is I click on the picture and you notice up top in the menu area, we've now got this picture format. If I click on that, at the far right, I've got a height and width box. I can type in a height. So I can say, let's make him 3 inches. My computer is set to inches for the unit of measure. If yours is set to centimeters, then you just type in the number for centimeters. So if I say I want the height to be 3 inches, watch what happens to the whole picture when I press enter. it has resized it. So the height is 3 inches. It's automatically changed the width to 2.25 inches because it's keeping that picture in proportion. If I decide I want to play with the width, then I'm going to make the width, let's say 4 inches. It fixes the height. So again, it's doing the resizing for you. This is really handy if you want to have two pictures side by side. I always go into this section to set the height, so I know that both pictures are identical height. Now, I don't know about you, but my relatives are not necessarily the most skilled photographers. So sometimes I'll get group shots where there's an awful lot of scenery, but the actual people are a very small part of the picture. And really, it's the people that usually I want to focus in on. If we look at this picture, this was sent to me by a cousin who lives quite far away. He is helping his mother sort through family photos. And I'd mentioned to him if he came across any pictures of my father as a boy, could he send them to me? So he took a picture with his cell phone camera of this image of my dad that was in my aunt's photo album. So you notice it didn't exactly come through with all of the borders of the photo. So what I like to do is crop the picture, which is like reframing it to cut out the pieces that I don't want. So it's a way of cleaning up the picture. And to crop the picture, you click on it to select it. You go to that picture format up top, and you'll notice at the right, there's a crop menu. And if I click on that drop down and click on crop, I get these black lines on the picture. Those black lines allow me to hide the part of the picture I don't want. And all I do is hover over the black line, hold the left mouse button down, and push it to kind of reframe the picture. So I'm just going to cut away some of the picture, and all I'm going to do here is cut away part of that white border. Now, what I've done in Word by cropping this picture, I haven't actually cut away any of the picture. I've just hidden it. So if I was to click on the picture again and go back to crop, you'll see the picture is still there in its entirety, but Word allows me to hide the bits that I don't want. That's a little different from cropping the picture outside of Word. If I was to open up this picture, not in Word, but just open up the picture and crop it, I am cutting away part of the picture. So it's really important that if you are going to be cropping a picture, you crop a copy and not your original in case you change your mind later and actually want to see the full picture. With these photos, I've got some options. This is just inserting the photo. I have assigned a caption, which I showed you how to do last week. Going to references, insert caption, allowed me to put this caption at the bottom. But when I've got the photos inserted into the document like this, my options are I can have it left aligned. I could center the picture, or I could right align it. But what if I want to put two pictures side by side to save space? Because this looks fine. I've got all these lovely pictures. I could center it. Let's center this. And let's center this one. But it does take up quite a bit of space, and there's an awful lot of kind of empty space on each side of that picture. So I'm thinking it might be nice if I could put those two pictures side by side. For instance, this is what I want to do. And the way you do that is using tables. So let me show you how to do that. The first thing you do is go to your Insert menu, Table, and if I want two pictures side by side, I'm going to create a 2-column table, and the table just has to be one row. So if I click, it has created a table down at the bottom there that has 2 columns and 1 row. Now, what I'm going to do is copy and paste my pictures into that table. What I could also do is just click in the table cell and insert the picture. Because I already have the pictures in the computer in this Word document, I'm just going to copy and paste. But I would insert it just the same way I inserted this picture originally. So let's just take this photo of my father. I'll paste it in there. I'll take this other lovely photo of him. I'll paste it into the other cell. And this is where we're going to want to resize the pictures, because you notice they're not the same height. So if I click on this picture of the color photo of my father, I'm going to set the height to 4 inches. And now I'm going to do the same thing with the other photo. Set it to 4 inches exactly. So that looks much better. The other thing I'm going to do is add a frame. So picture format, these are all options to add a picture frame. And you can play around with the different options to see which one you like. There's all kinds of them. I'm going to use kind of the classic photo with a white border effect. Now, one of the reasons for using table cells to control the positioning of your pictures is it gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of lining things up. So I can very easily make these table cells wider. So I can set each picture to be different. I could say I want this picture to hug the right border. I want this picture to be hugging that left border. The last thing I want to do is hide these table cell black lines. I want them to look invisible, so all I see is the picture. What I do is click on this little square to select the whole table. I then go up top here to Table Tools, click on Table Design, Borders, and I'm going to pick the option that says No Border. And look at what happens. Now it looks like I have two beautifully lined up pictures, and you can't tell that I used a table. If I hover over the pictures, that little box symbol appears, which is the table. If I want to do more work on them and I want to see the borders, I just go back up here and I go all borders, and I can see the borders again. So it sometimes will make it easier to just work with it to see what I'm doing. I can add a caption to this picture. I can say new photo of Dad. It puts it right below. And again, I can center that caption if I want. And I can do the same thing with this photo. I can add a caption. I'll just put new photo. And I'm going to center that one. Let me hide my borders again. And there you have it. I have two photos lined up. One of the reasons, again, that I like using tables is I can very easily move these as a unit and the formatting stays the same. So if I click on that little square to highlight the table and I cut it and I decide I want to move it back to the beginning here, and I'm going to put it right in here. If I paste, there it is. It brings the whole thing in as a unit. Some other things you can do with pictures. We've talked about setting the picture frame. We've talked about how you would put two pictures side by side on the page. What if you want to do pictures and text, which is what I show here with this picture of my dad in his Seaforth Highlanders uniform with my grandfather. And then I've got some text on the side. Well, if we go back up to this, I'm going to delete this picture and the caption. This is an empty table cell. I can type in it, type text here, blah, blah, blah. Yes, my detailed text. But the point is, you can have paragraphs, you can do bullet lists, anything that you can type in your Word document, you can put in this table cell. So you could use it to have kind of a little story or a little blurb related to that picture. So it doesn't have to be just text above and then the picture below. So that's another way you can use tables to combine text with a picture. The other thing you can do is color the background. I like doing this because visually it makes your photo and the associated anecdote or description stand out, and graphically it gives a very nice colored block that extends the width of the page. So what I have done here, all I did was go to table, table design, shading, and I picked a color. So I could change the color to pale orange. I could do pale yellow, blue. I could do a custom color. Now, you want to be careful not to pick strong colors. It can have the effect of hurting the eyes. So I'll show you. If you pick bright yellow, that is going to really distract from the rest of the page. So I tend to use pale colors, but it can be very effective. And using gray, you don't have to have a color printer. I use shades of gray a lot when I was first creating documentation because I didn't have a color printer. When I was working as a technical writer, everything was black and white, but I would use shades of gray to add that graphic interest and make those elements stand out on the page. So that's another little trick you can use to add some graphic interest and really showcase your photos. The last thing I'm going to show you is how you can use text boxes to do the same thing. So what I've got here, it looks very similar to what I showed you on the previous page, which is a 2-column, 1-row table. The left column has the picture. The right column has the text that says Seaforth Highlanders, but you notice I've added a 3D effect. So it looks like that box now has rounded edges. And in order to do that, I used a text box because a text box is considered a shape in Word, and shapes can be made 3-dimensional. So here's what I did. Let's do it here. Okay. I'm going to insert my text box. I'm going to grow the text box just by dragging the corners to make it the width that I want. So that looks about right. I'm going to delete the standard sample text that they put in. Now what I'm going to do is create my table inside. So I could go back and do an insert table and do my 2 columns, but because I already have the table created, because basically I did it here, I'm just going to select this table by clicking that square and copy it. And I'll just paste it right inside this text box. Now, I now have a table pasted inside a text box. Here's my table. Here's the text box. What I can now do, instead of coloring the table, I can color the text box. I go to Shape Format, and I'm going to select a color for the text box. I'm going to set the outline of the box to none to get rid of that black line. And I'm going to give it a 3D effect. And I like to select this first bevel. And now I have something that looks like a 3D effect, and I can just resize that text box. I don't expect you to be able to do all of these things right away. It takes practice, and if you're not familiar with working with tables, it's going to take you some time to get comfortable with the commands. But what I'm trying to show you is some of the possibilities that exist just using the built-in table features in Word. You can get pretty complicated layouts. So this is what I call a fancy layout. And in this case, I took a table that had 2 rows, so 2 columns and 2 rows, and I actually merged 2 of the cells to create 1 tall bucket and 2 small ones. And I'll just show you what I mean by that. Okay. So for this one, I created a 2-row table. And I'll just make each row a bit bigger so that you can see what's happening. Okay. What I did was merged these 2 cells, made them into one. So this section up here, I said merge those cells. And I now have one big cell and 2 small ones. And this is exactly what I did. I pasted my pictures into the different cells, and then I put my text in this top cell.
I hope you enjoyed learning how you can use tables to position your pictures and add graphic interest to the page. There's no handout this week. I know you are all anxious to try out some of my suggestions. Have fun, and thanks for watching.